All right, so welcome back into another Dragon Ball Super Card Game video, and today this video is for those who are just now starting out in the Dragon Ball Super Card Game and want to play something pretty decent for not that much money. I've made a deck in every color, so 5 different decks that all are under or around that $50–$60 range. So basically have some fun with the decks as you learn and at least have the opportunity to upgrade it, which of course I will suggest a few cards for each. 43% of you are not subscribed. If you just found my video, please go ahead and subscribe. I'm doing a video pretty much every day of the month of January 2022 and gonna be doing a bunch of other videos throughout the year. Please go ahead and subscribe. I'm trying to get to that 10K this year. First up is blue. And if you wanted to go ahead and follow along, any of the lists are actually in the description below using the DBS Deck Planet link. I went ahead and picked Super Saiyan 2 Gohan for blue, just simply because he is a pretty straightforward type of game plan, and he has a lot of cool tools that actually help you kind of learn the game and as well as to beat your opponent. His basic game plan is to play out a lot of these 2-cost skill-less 20k cards, and he awakens early as soon as you do that. You basically play things from your energy and basically build out a board and go into a finisher, which is the Super Saiyan 2 Son Gohan Astonishing Strike. And this card is super strong, having deflect, triple strike, paying 4, and basically switching into active mode, swinging again for 30k triple strike, and then bottom decking all their opponent's cards. And it's actually really great. And you have, again, some cool tools that are pretty much exclusive to the archetype that you're playing, like the Son Gohan, the Unbelievable Might, where you can play the card, bottom deck something that is 3 or less, ignoring barrier, which is big. You get a 15k blocker, and all you have to do is just have a 2-cost in play, which is really cool. And then we also have the Unbelievable Might Trunks. It's a dual attacker blocker. You only have to pay 2, and bottom deck a 7 or less, so plenty of removal here. These guys are really cool as far as a cantrip, drawing 1, a negate, and basically just playing out all of these so that way you can awaken early and consistently do this over and over. Play the Seno super combo, which gets stuff from your deck and into your energy, so that way you can get all of these things on a consistent basis. And then Zeno, you can draw 1 after you play it and then get stuff back into your hand from your energy. And of course we have a Boonie for that really cool mid-range area, and as well as Tapion, since Zeno really ramps up into a lot of different markers, and it's really useful for that since you get to use your energy and active. Doing a couple other things as well, but honestly overall a pretty cool deck, simply because you can upgrade it for things like Trunks, the counterplay. It's a little bit expensive, but pretty much in any blue deck right now, even though it's kind of a weird spot in the meta right now and probably in the future, you do kind of need that to stop a lot of the big bad boys that don't have deflect. Then of course we have the Hachiyak secret. Nothing really too much to talk about here. There's not really any secrets in any of these decks, simply because it's just gonna nullify that $50–$60 mark. But that one definitely is needed in blue since it just stops an entire turn. And then lastly, something like the counter baby ape, basically saying no to any of their negates, is really good when you couple it with any of the finishers that you might have or add into this deck. Next up is Miracles, or Helku, basically the yellow GT Goku that came out a few sets ago. And again, this is another kind of unique sort of leader where you play things from the top of your deck and you manipulate the top 3, top 2, top whatever in order to play those things. And there's a lot of cool and really strong cards from this, where you awaken early as soon as you play something like the Goku the Brawler that has a deflect double strike 20k. You only have to pay 1 after you're revealing it from the top of your deck, and then you get to KO something in rest mode. And then the Unison basically enables you to actually do that by looking at the top 3 and a few other things like that, and as well as the Trip to Hell, which basically you just pay 1, you draw 2 cards, and you place 1 on top of the hand or on top of your deck, and then reveal it and place into the drop. And that enables, again, all of these other things like the blockers for 1, the Pan that gives your leader crit, and Trunks the Brawler that kind of helps that as well. But really your main attackers is going to be the Goku the Brawler. And then we also have the finisher, Return of the Dragon Fist, which basically says any of the battle cards that they're using 7 or less in any area is nullified as soon as you use the Spirit Boost. KOs 2 things, has deflect, double strike 25k, really good. then I threw in some yellow staples, which I think are pretty reasonable. Sorry, yellow is a little expensive right now, so sorry if it went over a little bit on the budget. But we have the Vegeta for prideful transformation that rests something as soon as it gets played. When you have a unison out with 2 or more markers. Lord Slug just got a reprint, so you play this guy for 1, you pay 1 additional yellow energy, and then you play out a 3 or less from your hand, which is going to be this guy, which says they can't draw anything outside of their leader, which is just super repressive and just really good. Hopefully that's not banned by the time I put this video up. And we have Bazel, which is reasonably priced. I think this is a little higher than I probably predicted last time I did the prices. I'll have the prices, the approximate prices on the screen as well. But this guy is a double draw 1 dual attacker as soon as they have 5 or less, or 5 or more cards in rest. This unison is fantastic. Is a 20k dual attacker. It is relatively cheap. This is just a the special rare version of it. You get to rest something that is rest something 4 or less and then KO it, and then you get to KO all other things after drawing 1, minusing 3 markers, which is a great way to again get into those strong unisons. Cooler is there because it's just really good. Just says no to negate, just like the baby ape I mentioned before. Bardock is there to draw some cards, and then Krillin is got a reprint, so now you get to bottom deck and draw 2 cards, which is just a fantastic time to get into the game. There's not too many well, there are a good amount of cards that I would suggest. Power of the Super Saiyan is a really good card to upgrade this deck. It just taps down a unison or a battle card, which is just fantastic. Turles is a fantastic card. Pay 2 energy and then you pop something or draw and pop something else. Is a 20k double striker, very cheap. It's very reminiscent of the Goku that you play in this deck, so having 2 of those, especially in yellow, to remove is just fantastic. Next up is green. So we have green Gotenks, very straightforward leader, very simple to play, very effective as well. And I kind of went the route of just being consistent with the Gotenks cards as far as just making sure that you awaken with the unisons. Both of these unisons are very good. This one just gains 4 markers as soon as it's played, and you have revenge on your battle cards, which is just great for the Zarbon that you play here, and as well as the potential unlocked that you have here. And then the -7 means you get to burn a life and look at their hand or look at their life and burn a life, and then their hand goes to squat basically to end the game. Which is great. Go cool. Makes your deck consistent, so that way you actually get your fusion pieces, and as well as Gotenks. That's basically your main attacker, and draw power. Basically, he draws 2, KO something, and then he gets back the Goten and Trunks. The only downside is that if it doesn't get KO'd, it gets warped. You just don't get those back. But the Deflect dual attacker is just a fan favorite of the DBS community at this point. And then we have Defending Paragus getting a reprint, so now you get to draw 2 for cheap. And then this guy is just great when you want to remove something with barrier. And then the other Gotenks, this one with the critical for 1, and then this guy for Deflect, Fusion 1, draw 1, and then remove a marker, is just very situational on which ones you want to use. But again, consistency of making sure that you get the fusion targets, which are going to be all of these. Dark Temptation is fantastic as far as that goes. Just a simple leader boost, drop 1, and then the spirit boost Unleashed Goku, in which you get to pay 1. You have a green unison to play, which you're gonna to awaken, and as well as just to have on. It gains double strike if you remove 2 markers, and 5k for each one. So overall, very cool deck. I love this deck. I just never play it. It just seems too simple for me. It's not a bad thing that it is kind of simple and straightforward. I love consistent decks, but I just don't love playing it over and over again. But for this deck, Dormer Potential is going to be the big one. That's pretty much what's being used in pretty much any mono green leader that plays a unison, especially like these, and you can hide behind your blockers. The Frieza counterplay is also a staple for green decks. I would suggest to look into that. It's not too pricey, but the price kind of fluctuates, as it is one of the few better green cards that are being played right now. All right, next up is black, which is Mechi Kabora. I didn't do this in order, by the way. I don't know if you noticed the numbers, so my bad. Either way, so Mechi Kabora. So a lot of people might say, like, why don't you suggest Gogeta Xeno got the reprint and all this other stuff, and maybe the other thing, I don't know. I have a feeling the Gogeta package might be hit a little bit in the upcoming ban list. So I kind of want to have something a little bit more unique, a little bit more rogue. I mean, this was played in Nats by our former champion, Brian Samuel. So it might be, yeah, it must have something there. It's just, this is definitely a different version of either way. Mechi Kabora really focuses on your Dragon Balls, or your Dark Dragon Balls, as to say. Basically, you get to pitch something and then draw two after you use this card, and as well as use the leader effect. It's basically the wish mechanic before wish was even around, or wish after the wish mechanic after wish was around. So an alternative wish mechanic, which is great to learn as a new player. Also, and pretty much the whole deck makes the drop area for the opponent really hard to use, and as well as their hand, where they have to warp one and draw one, so they're forced to kind of fix their hand, even though, you know, it's not really fixing, it's really hurting their hand. And then we also have King Vegeta. Basically, as soon as they swing at your leader, they have to warp one, so they're gonna be swinging at this. It's a dual or double striker barrier. You only have to pay 2 for, as long as they have 3 or more into their warp. And then we also have the Goku or Son Goku package, the Kid Ku package, in which you get balls out of your deck pretty much for free, and you get to search your deck. And I am very adamant about these cards, or about this package, only because you get to look at your deck, take a look at how many balls you have in your life, and as well as your deck, and then thin out your deck, and then use these as your leader takes the battle cards, or the battle cards on your opponent's field for less. You get to use these and boost them up an additional 5k, which is a 10k super combo that you can get back with Kid Ku. So I really do suggest it. Everything else, like Salsa that draws you a card, Toa that removes, Surum that removes, and as well as just a cool attacker, Poutine that has a floodgate, and just overall just a really fun deck to play and to learn. I can't really recommend too many things for this deck. It's really, like, black is very specific in what you want to do. It's really the secret rares that you might play. I think Finn is a great addition to this deck as well, since you get to pretty much board wipe their board. And maybe the Kai secret, or maybe the Bardock Unison. Both of those cards are pretty good for this deck. But I mean, overall, like I said, it's not too bad. I would just use it, see how it is within the format, and as well as within your friends or whoever you're playing with, and then kind of go from there. Next up is the Red Vegeta starter deck, and people might be mad at me for this one too, these last two, honestly, but I really like the Bardock's Crew package. It has its issues sometimes, just being very straightforward and simple, which is why I'm suggesting it to a newer player, if anything. But we do have the starter deck, Vegeta, in which you awaken early by using a Unison, and as well as giving it double strike on the awaken side. And this Unison is kind of a replacement of the Piccolo Jr., which is what my suggestion is if you want to move forward with this deck. As an upgrade, which is the Piccolo Jr. Unison. And if you want to go that route, instead of doing the Bardock's Crew, maybe doing U7 with this leader might be a little bit better, because now you can play Divine Presence, the 1-drop Gohan, etc. Either way, this guy actually does drop or draw you a card without doing really too much. It also boosts all of your Red Saiyans 3 or less and gain 5k. Plus, during your turn is an extra to 1k for each Red Saiyan that you have in your battle area. So that includes this guy, where you can pay 1 and remove something for 10k or less, or minus 10k or less. This guy that when you have bond 3, which is going to be easy with all the 1 costs that you're using, is now a 21k or 25k, I should say, during their turn and yours, and you get to draw a card. Topo is a cool floodgate, and all of the Bardock's Crew, from the draw and the Borgos, the Bardocks that helps you awaken if you don't get your Unison, or just take life, really. The Bardock that has critical and removes something as well, depending on how many cards that you have on your battlefield. Fasha that searches all of your Bardock's Crew, and then Pan, in which boosts out all of your boys and girl and herself, girl. And overall, just kind of like the finisher, in which corresponds with the leader effect that gives your Unison double strike. And of course, a couple more of the starter deck Kaba, which is supposed to be what is being played with this deck, but of course there are better options for this that I mentioned before. And then overall, like I said, using the SR on the red Bardocks that we have here, you get to look at the top 7 after it's played, and then when you attack, you get to play something from your drop and gain 5k for one of your red sands. So overall, like I said, straightforward deck. It's aggressive enough. It is what red is right now. You can be aggressive, but it has a little bit of its faults, but you can lean towards your oppositions, your imposing presence, and as well as your topos to defend from there. But that is it. That is all I have. I've talked enough and quite a lot. I've sectioned out all of the colors in this video, and as well as including the deck lists in the description below. But please subscribe if you're new. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you're a returning player, what would you suggest? What would be, instead of the decks that I've shown, what would you think would be the best options for a newer player under that $60–50 range? See you in the next one.